Okay, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kathrine. If you're new here, so happy to have you here. Today I'm going to be talking all about what I would do if I were starting my health journey all over again in 2022. So can't wait to get into it. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. Like this video if you want to see more stuff like this, and let's get into it. Okay, but first, I'm very recently obsessed with ice green tea, which is my drink of choice in the summer, and it's January and I'm still obsessed, so fuel. Also, it is a new year, which is crazy. I don't know about you guys, but this January has felt like it has simultaneously flown by and also gone very slowly, which we like. I don't know. January, February, March, those are kind of my least favorite months out of the year. So over the past few years, I've really done a lot to try to make them more enjoyable. This is something I talk a lot with my clients about. How do we lean into the winter season of kind of relaxing, rejuvenating, restoring, and being more inside when it's cold and icky and dark if you live in the Pacific Northwest like me for months out of the year, right? So that's been a big topic lately. If you guys would like kind of more insight on that or more details, leave a comment, let me know. I would love to chat all about how I kind of view the seasons and how we can adjust not only our health habits, but our behaviors and our expectations to make even the darkest, gloomiest seasons, winter after the holidays, more enjoyable. Okay, I was really excited to film this video because I honestly, I wish I could have watched this 6 years ago, but I can't, so hopefully someone can watch it now for me instead and avoid these mistakes that I made. And I won't be talking about the specific mistakes that I made on my health journey, but I will be making a separate video all about that. So be sure to stay tuned because that is coming. Gosh, I wrote an entire list of things for what I would do differently, but I think the biggest thing I would do differently on my health journey is to not get so nano focused on whatever is trendy or like very in right now, right? When I got into my health journey, it was like 2013, 2014, 2012, that type of thing. Kale was just hitting the markets. The coconut oil craze had just passed, right? I remember being in high school and I had friends who were like taking slugs of like coconut, like spoonfuls of coconut oil a day because it was supposed to be really healthy. And now, of course, we're like, in what world would you be doing that, right? But it just goes to show like health trends come and go. Fads, it's not even a trend, right? It's literally a fad. It was so easy for me to get sucked into that. I mean, one, because I was young and I didn't know any better, but two, it's just so appealing to go with the flow of whatever is like super trendy in the health world or the wellness world at the moment and not really take into account, what is this actually doing? Is this beneficial? Do I really need whatever this food or this product or this item is? Is it actually going to improve my life? Is it actually going to make me healthier, right? So I wish what I would do today, if I were starting over, and what I would tell you is don't get so obsessed about whatever specific thing is trending at the moment. Because at the end of the day, items, products, sure, there might be a couple like vitamins or a couple foods that have been life-changing for you personally. But 99% of the time, a product or food or an item is never going to be what makes you truly healthy and well, right? And makes you a better whole human. That is almost never going to be the case. But we live in a capitalistic society and we're constantly being sold products and items, especially in the wellness and health industry. So those industries would like rather have us not believe that, right? But that's really why you have to be so mindful as a consumer, because that's what we are. We're all consumers. You really have to be mindful of the information and the content that you're consuming because it is probably trying to sell you some product, right? And this is like a big part of my beef with not just the health and like the diet industry, but the wellness industry especially. I'm talking like Goop, like I Am Well and Good, like those different very like bougie wellness realms, whatever you want to call them. They really market you these products that are just so expensive and they're not really going to change your life at all. And it completely misses the point of what is actually going to help you heal, what's actually going to make a tangible difference in your day-to-day life, in your mental health, in your physical health, your emotional well-being, all these things. And that's obviously what I'm really passionate about and what I'm here to help you do. So To sum it up very briefly, I would say don't get so caught up in whatever is trendy right now, because that's not going to be the key to your long-term well-being, quite frankly. So if I didn't know much about health, fitness, wellness, building muscle, maintaining good energy, having mental clarity, improving my mental health, right? Just taking care of my overall well-being, nutrition, all these things. If I didn't know a lot about these things and I had only really been following like fitness or wellness influencers online, which I think is where a lot of you start. That's where a lot of my clients start. That's where most people start, right? Is that you follow some people on Instagram and maybe they promote some things. You see someone, so many people these days are promoting like greens powder that you like put in your water, right? It's very easy to think that, oh, I need to buy that too. Do you really need it? Could you eat a kale salad, right? And it's not to say that that product can't be helpful, but do you kind of see what I was saying earlier about how greens powders and chlorophyll water are very trendy right now, so people think it's the next great thing. It's not bad, don't get me wrong. Sure, you might get more antioxidants and micronutrients, but could you also do that from eating a healthy, balanced, plant-based diet? Yes, but no one's talking about that, right? So all of this to say, if I didn't know all the things that I do about the fields of health, wellness, fitness, nutrition, blah, 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 and I had only been following influencers online, I would stop. I would become very critical, and not critical in like, what are these people doing wrong, but very critical of the way that I'm consuming information. So notice a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is the way we're consuming content, consuming information, because of how much it impacts our thoughts and our beliefs around health, wellness, fitness, etc., and a lot of other things. But right now we'll stick to health and wellness and fitness and your relationship with food and all that stuff. So what I would do is find a couple, maybe a few trusted health professionals who I deem to be good at what they do, right? And this might be, I think this is a lot easier for me as a reputable health professional, right? To figure out how do I know if other people are legit or not? But so let me kind of lay it out for you. What you want to be looking for in a health professional is that they share their background, they share their educational background, right? Their knowledge, their credentials, their degrees, their experience in the field. They share where did they get their information, where did they gain their education. That's the most important thing, right? There are so many people, whether it be influencers or other nutritionists or health coaches on the internet, who don't really have an education to be talking about the things that they do. And I think, and I feel like I've said this in other videos, and I really do tend to believe that most people have great intentions and they really want to help people. However, at the end of the day, it can be very, very dangerous when you don't have a proper educational background in health, wellness, nutrition, fitness, psychology, to give people advice on these topics, right? Because if you give the wrong advice, it can quite literally harm them. And I've seen this happen to my clients who've worked with other people in the past, and it's a really hard thing for people to go through, right? And this is just why you want to be so mindful of where you're getting your information from. So that's what I would be doing if I were starting over today. And I would be looking for people who are knowledgeable, educated in their fields, and who are respected by other professionals, right? And I would be following them and taking their advice. However, you also don't just want to like take people's advice at face value, especially what you're seeing online, right? Because a post shared on Instagram is not going to be directly applicable to your life. It's not going to take into account your specific circumstances, your personal background, right? Like your biology, your hormones, your physical health, all these different things. There's so much that you can't just like copy paste from an Instagram caption into your own life and hope that it works, right? This leads me to point number 2, is that I was struggling so much with emotional eating, with disordered eating, with like obsession with exercise, and really like perfectionism. I was very high achieving, very type A. I still am, but I've really been able to bring those traits into much more of a balanced part of my life, I guess you could say. But I really used to cling to my identity as a very productive, high achieving, motivated person. And that caused me so many problems because I burnt myself out. I burnt myself out so hardcore that I was like 21 years old and I barely could get out of bed because I was so exhausted and drained, right? I don't talk about that much anymore, but that was a really hard time in my life because I was doing so much. So all of this to say, I was ashamed to share with anyone what I was going through. At the time too, no one really talked about these things, right? Emotional eating, binge eating is something that's really scary to talk about, and it feels very like embarrassing, quite frankly. And if you guys have gone through this, you know what that feels like, right? Struggles with food, struggles with body image, body dysmorphia, those can be really, really hard to talk about. So I wish that I had been able to find someone in my life that I could have talked to about it. A therapist would have been great at the time. I didn't even know, like, I didn't even want to realize that the problem was what it was, right? A therapist and again, a trusted health professional who had experience and knowledge in what I needed help with would have done me a world of good. So that brings me to my next point, is I would have found someone that I trusted to help me, who had proven background in being able to help other people overcome the issues that I did, right? And that's a big part of why now I help women heal their relationship with food, overcome emotional eating, overcome the struggles that come with pursuing healthy habits and a long-term healthy lifestyle, right? Really bringing practical, good physical health habits and balancing those with a positive relationship with food, with your body image, with exercise, with your mental health, all these different things, right? Now that's what I specialize in because it's what I struggled with so much, and there was like not any help to be found. And even to this day, there aren't very many people who do what I do in this niche, right? Because it's still pretty new when it comes to food psychology and embracing, promoting physical health and good nutrition habits, right? So had I had something like my program, The Method, Healthy Habits for Life, it literally, I was struggling with emotional eating for like 4 or 5 years. I truly think it would have cut that down to like 1 year max. Like, had I had the tools, had I had a professional who was legitimate and knew what they were talking about, and had I had the support, the education of what was going on and how to overcome it, I would have shortened that timeline by so much, right? And that's what I really encourage you to do. If you are struggling with these issues, like if you're struggling with any of the issues I just mentioned, The Method is an amazing fit for you because it's going to help you overcome those struggles. If you're struggling with other issues, I strongly encourage you to find a health professional who can help you overcome them, right? Really make it a priority, because I know it's so easy to put these things off, and it's easy to say too, like, oh, but the problem's not that bad, right? Like, oh, I'm okay. And maybe it's not that bad, but if it's impacting your day-to-day life, if it's affecting the way you're thinking, the way you're feeling on a daily basis, you can get help too. The problem doesn't have to be so serious before you get help. Like, you can get help even if the problem is just kind of bad. It doesn't have to be like at its worst case ever for you to get help. So that's my pep talk on reaching out for support. So I mentioned earlier that when I was younger, I really clung to my identity as being super hardworking, super motivated, type A, overachiever, blah, blah, blah. I double majored in college. I got a minor in Spanish. I was teaching fitness classes. I was working like 1 or 2 other jobs on top of that. Like, I was doing the most. It was way too much. It's no wonder I burnt out, right? That seems so obvious now, but at the time it was like, yeah, I had always identified as this very like high achieving person. So I kept wanting to be successful at those kind of identity traits that I had given myself, right? So I wish I had realized sooner that being more productive, getting more done doesn't make me a worthier person, right? I can enjoy my life, I can rest, I can have fun, I can play, and I can still do the things I want to do and achieve the things I want, but I don't need to do it all at once, and I don't need to do it all, period, right? That seems so simple and obvious now, and it might seem very obvious to you here when I say it, but that was a huge realization for me at the time, and it was like a pivotal point in my health journey, my wellness journey, when I realized that I had to give up my kind of identity as the most fit, most high achieving, motivated person that I knew. And that was okay. It would be okay if I did that. So that's another huge thing, is I would embrace leaning into more fun, more joy, more relaxation, so that I didn't burn myself out physically, and just so that I enjoyed my life more. Like, that would have been huge for me at the time. Now, more practically speaking, when it comes to like physical health habits, I really would have prioritized learning how to meal plan and meal prep, and more importantly, learning what types of foods, textures, flavors, combinations did I enjoy most. No one talks about this. I went to culinary school way back when I was really young, and it gave me such a good perspective for cooking and food and the enjoyment and preparation of food. Meal prep now is viewed as being like, oh, it's broccoli, chicken, and rice. or it's like some very high protein pasta dish that you eat for 5 days straight. Like, it seems awful, and that does seem awful to me, right? But what I teach my clients is like, let's make batch cooking and meal prepping customized to you. Let's make it fit your personality, your desires, your tastes, and your schedule so that it works for you. This is what meal prepping and batch cooking are supposed to do, right? So I really would have figured that out a lot sooner, because it would have made my life so much easier. So now, if this is something that you don't do, meal prepping, meal planning, you don't have to be like super perfect about it for every single meal, but the more you can start to incorporate it into your life, I promise your life is going to get so much easier. It's going to be so much simpler for you to make strides with your nutrition, with your overall health, with your energy, with your mood, your mental clarity. I mean, even with your weight, if that's something you're looking for, all these things. So highly encourage you to do that. Another physical health habit I would have embraced a lot sooner is stopping this obsession with the exercise that burns the most calories. For years, I would only go for runs or do HIIT workouts or boot camp workouts because they burn the most calories and they're most effective at boosting your metabolism and burning calories, right? Which is fine. By all means, if you love running and HIIT workouts, go do them. Like, please enjoy. Just don't do HIIT workouts too much every week. Do like 2 or 3 times a week max, right? Point being, I did not enjoy them. And I got really burnt out doing them, quite frankly. And I was at the point, I'd run 2 half marathons. I was training for a full marathon. And I was like out on this like 11-mile run one day. And I had this moment where I was like, what am I doing? I really don't like running. Like, I love like a little 3-mile jog in the fresh air, you know, like, that's good, that's invigorating. But anything beyond that was just not my cup of tea. And again, it came back to, I wanted to be this high achieving person. I wanted to be able to say I'd run a marathon. That was really what I was looking for. I wasn't like, oh, I love running, it would be so cool to run a marathon. I was like, I want to be able to say that I've run a marathon, because how badass is that, right? So again, you can see where the identity shift really comes into play here. I would have just let myself find different types of exercise and physical activity that I enjoyed, which I did. Got really into yoga, got very into hiking. Dancing is something, I want to take more dance classes this year. That's something I'm pursuing. I go for walks all the time now, which now walks are like trendy again, which is great. I love to see it. But back when I started going for walks, I mean, this was a few years ago, and not that like walking is anything new. Walking is like the oldest thing on earth. But it was very much like, it would be me on the trail, the local neighborhood trail, and a bunch of other, you know, like older women or older people, which is totally fine. But it was definitely like something where I was like, what are you doing walking? Like, you're a young, healthy person. Why aren't you running or doing something more challenging than this, right? So again, I really had to overcome like my own kind of bias against like, oh, this isn't a hard enough workout. You have to be working out harder. So all of this to say, you can really see how that like identity shift ties into what I let myself and didn't let myself do. So if this is resonating with you, I want you to take home that message of, do the movement that feels good for you, and don't so much worry about how many calories is it gonna burn, or is this the best thing for me ever. Find foods that are satisfying and tasty to you and make them nutritious, right? Build in balanced meals into your weekly diet, your regular food intake, right? And this brings me into my final point that I'll discuss, which is, I wish I would have recognized that food has no moral value. All foods fit. Food is not good or bad, and I can continue to enjoy my favorite foods once I've kind of overcome that struggle of emotional eating, right? Once they're not so much of a trigger anymore. Now I have my favorite foods all the time. Chips, ice cream, pretzels, pizza, burgers, fries. I eat those foods all the time. Does it mean I have them every day? No, but I eat them very regularly. And if the other day I was craving a donut, and I don't really eat donuts normally, but I went and got one and it was delicious and I enjoyed it. I wasn't obsessing about it after the fact. I didn't feel guilty about it afterwards, right? That was huge. That wouldn't have been able to happen 4 or 5 years ago. So all of this to say, enjoy the foods that you love. Find a way to make them work into your regular food intake, because otherwise it's going to lead to bigger problems down the road. So that is a short list of what I would have done differently on my wellness journey if I were starting in 2022. I will wrap it up by saying, focus on sustainable and realistic healthy habits that work for you. Don't get so caught up in what other people are doing. Find the things that work for you and that make a change in your mental health, your physical health, the way you feel, the way your body feels, right? Like your mood, your energy, your mental clarity, all of these things. Focus on you, kind of crowd out the other noise, because there's always going to be so much noise in the health and wellness space about what you should be doing, what's the next best thing. Don't worry so much about that. Figure out what works for you. Work with a trusted health professional that is reputable, please, that is reputable in what they do. And don't take advice from people who don't know what they're talking about. Ooh, I always say that. Anyway, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you would do if you were starting your health journey over this year, or maybe you are starting your health journey this year. What did you take from this video that you can apply to your life? So stick around. I can't wait to see you soon.